We are in Perek Chavtet of Sefer Breisheet, and we are arriving at the home of Lavan, Betuel rather, and of Lavan, and was the home of Betuel, now the home of Lavan. We talked last week about the reality that Rachel Imenu is a shepherdess, the fact that Yaakov encounters her at a well. Some of the layers of meaning include symbolic readings and understandings of the words of the Torah to be not merely telling us details about the moment, but in a certain way prefiguring that which will happen in the future, somehow templates for the future. We talk about the Be'er as the reference to the She'ivat Ruach HaKodesh, the drawing up of divine inspiration from Jewish people coming to Yerushalayim for the Shalosh Rigalim, the notion that the three Rigalim and the Edarim, the different groups who are standing there at the well, the different flocks with their shepherds. All right, so we talked about some of these different layers, and of course the notion that the opening of the well of or the font of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is through Yaakov Avinu, through the good works, the Masim Tovim of Yaakov, his ability to be Golel, the Even, Malpia Be'er, the stone that is the obstacle as such. That's a symbolic reading. That's clearly, even those who have it, the Ramban among them, are not simply looking at it and saying, well, we'll take it out of the realm of Pshat. They're mining it for deeper layers of meaning beyond exclusively the storyline in and of itself. We don't generally approach the Torah from that perspective. First, at least in our shir, we're trying to understand first the level of Pshat, what's going on, but also to appreciate how did the Mefarshei HaMikra methodologically look at a section in Tanakh, how did they analyze it and the like. In Pasuk Yud Aleph, the last thing we saw last time was the fact that in their initial encounter, Yaakov and Rachel, already there's crying. Yaakov is crying. 5 minutes ago, he was laughing, clicking his heels, and going with a great sense of confidence, and now suddenly he's crying. So how come he's crying? So one of the lines of understanding was he already saw something in the future about how they would ultimately not be together. Right? Lahavdol Fe'avdalat, a pair of star-crossed lovers, yeah, as the Bard would have it in his own writing related. I mentioned it only because, like, okay, so they wouldn't be buried together. They'd have a life together. He was crying because he realized that his beloved Rachel, who he's just meeting now for the first moment, at the end, he's not going to be with her. Second reading, it's not about something in the future. He doesn't have a moment of Ruach HaKodesh now that he sees that in the end they won't be buried together, but rather when he comes to encounter this woman who he wants to court at a well, just like happened with his father's courtship with his mother through Eliezer, he doesn't have anything to give her. Why not? Because what happened to Eliphaz, right? What's Eliphaz doing here? Eliphaz, the son of Esav, a conflicted individual. Shelly, I already see your hand, but forgive me, I need 3 minutes to just set this up, and then I'm happy to take questions and comments. This was all just review of last week, right? But give me 2 more minutes. The idea, though, that Rashi wants us on one level, remember this was a davar acher, there's a weakness there also, where Eliphaz not in the story. If we actually maintain that Esav was not planning to kill Yaakov in the lifetime of his father's still alive. So now, according to this rendering, midrashic rendering, the Medrash wants us to know that really Eliphaz was sent to kill Yaakov. Esav wasn't going to do it, but Eliphaz could do it. Really? It was the same Avel, the same grief would come to his father, Yitzchak, in the loss of Yaakov. I mean, okay, so again, and that's what Davar Acher, we talked about it last time, we talked about it each time. Each side of the equation has a certain element of it that I would call, for lack of a better term, a weakness, and the other side sort of supports it. But what we find next is that as Yaakov and Rachel connect, note that initially they don't have a conversation. First, he gives her a kiss and he cries. Then Yaakov says to Rachel, do you know who I am? Yaakov knew who it was because he asked the shepherds and they said, oh, here comes Rachel. But Rachel did not know who Yaakov was. He now explains to her, "I am your relative. I've come from Canaan. Yeah, that my mother and your father are siblings, right?" And he explains it, and he also mentions that that the connection. And she goes immediately to go tell her father. Navayichi shmoa Lavan et shema Yaakov ben achoto vayaratz likrato vayichabek lo vayinashek lo. Right, he comes and he gives him right away a big kiss. He's so happy, right? That his that Yaakov has arrived. But right away, what does Rashi want us to understand? Something below the surface, not because of the moment, but because of what we'll understand retroactively, right? Vayaratz likrato kasavur mamon hu ta'un. Lavan thinks Yaakov must have arrived laden with lots of cash. Shahare eved habayit balikan ba'asara gmalim te'unim. He came laden with 10 camels, the servant of the father. Remember? Eliezer came with his grandfather came, grandfather's servant, so his father's servant. You get the point. Eliezer came with 10 camels. It's unbelievable. So if Eliezer's there with 10 camels, so clearly now Yaakov's going to be coming with it as well. From Rashi's perspective, and this is the piece I wanted to share with you today, there's a line that you could draw between what we saw in Rashi earlier and how Rashi now, with that understanding, draws it out to the next level. So Eliphaz is in the story, and Eliphaz is taking away whatever Yaakov has, because of course Yaakov was bringing lots of cash and whatever it is with him in order to use to court his new, whoever it was going to be, his spouse. Remember what his parents sent him, they both are having him leave home in order to avoid the wrath of his brother, but also to seek a mate. It says so, right? At the end of Parshat Toldot. So when he arrives, now he doesn't have anything left. He otherwise would have had something. Lavan is not wrong in thinking that Yaakov has lots of money that he brought. But of course, we're being introduced to Lavan from the first sentence. Rashi wants us to know, Chazal, Rashi didn't make this up, he's taking it from the Midrashim. By the way, Lavan already had his jaundiced eye upon whoever was coming from that household to see what can we take from them. Not all the Mefarshim agree to this, of course, yeah? But Vayichabek, he hugged him. He said maybe the gold ducats are hiding in his, under his arm somehow. I'll give him a hug. So I'll check. I'll give him a pat down. Vayinashek lo, and this one is in, brackets, not in Tvus Rishon, but it's in later editions of Rashi. Vayinashek kissed him. Amar Shema Margaliot Hevivahem Befiv. Where are the gemstones? In his cheeks. I'll give him a kiss. I'll give him a good squeeze. I'll find out what he's hiding. And he tells Lavan, I did not come here except for the fact that I'm running from my brother, and he took all of my money. Well, not him, but his son, right? My point here is that even though previously Rashi had quoted two views in the Medrash, Davar Acher, and each one is trying to answer maybe some kind of lacuna in the other's response, the fact is that Rashi will carry forward sometimes one line of Medrash and then connect it to later pieces along those same lines. In other words, he's not just quoting a potpourri to answer a question localized, but sometimes Rashi will draw it forward. And this fits very much with the same pattern. It would also explain how it is later on that when Lavan will make the switcheroo and will have Leah waking up with Yaakov, and Yaakov will ask Lavan, why did you do this to me? What is Lavan going to say? We don't do this over here to put the younger before the older. And we'll wonder, how does Lavan know that story? The answer is Yaakov told him that story. And he's anus because of his brother. So vayichabek lo, vayinashek lo, vayivyeu el beito, vayisaper lelavan eit kol hadvarim ha'ele. He told him, right, all of these things. It doesn't tell you what the things are. The things are the backstory about why I'm here, including why it's all in the same pasuk. I don't have any money to give, and I don't have any gifts, and I know that's what our family does. But here's what happened. Tells him the story. Yeah. Okay. So that's phase one for today. Shelley, thanks for your patience. Good morning. I'd love to hear your question or comment.
I've got a lot of comments, but let me start out with a methodological one, which is Ma'aseh Avot Simon Levanim.
Yes.
So if that's what we're supposed to be looking for, that the details mean something, how on earth, when they give you this stuff that it's Ruach HaKodesh or it's Nevuah or something like that, that Yaakov sees he's not going to be buried with or whatever, they're not going to live together for a real long time. What does that have to do with us? Because Ruach HaKodesh, we don't have, there's no Nevuah now, and most people don't have Ruach HaKodesh. It's only very holy people. So what are we supposed to get out of that? Two, what about the fact that doesn't it show that because Lavan has to use Rachel as a shepherdess in a society where women are very protected, that he doesn't have any money or he doesn't have any sons to do it? Three, what about Yaakov kissing this person who he doesn't know who he is? You wouldn't act that way, and that's Peshat.
Right. All good questions.
Oh, and one more before
I got a pad. I'm not going to remember all these questions, Shelley. They're excellent, but I got you. It's a barrage. I don't know how I'm going to remember them all. Okay, give me the last one.
But I won't remember them if I don't put it out there. The business about not having any money. This is not Peshat either. But just like Eliphaz is Midrash, there's the idea that he spends all this time in this yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever. Okay, so the idea that Lavan does not have to know what happened with Yaakov and Esav from Yaakov. He could have heard it through the grapevine for the 14 years that he's there. I mean, it's how does Abraham hear later on that his brother's wife has a kid, and then it's
someone told him.
Rivka.
Someone told him.
They're told on these trade routes. So it wouldn't necessarily have to, in order to answer this question, you don't have to go into the weirdo Eliphaz thing.
Yep. Well.
Okay, that's my piece.
Good. Okay, no, these are good. These are excellent pieces. Excellent. Methodologically, you're asking about why it is that we need to know about Ruach HaKodesh. Why does it matter? To tell us about that, what's the message? It's hard for me to put myself in Rashi's shoes and to say, okay, here's the message. But the question for Rashi, as is for all the Mefarshim, why is a man who's initially meeting a woman who we found out already right from the get-go that he knows who she is and that she's his relative, why is that causing a grown man to cry? Unless there's some tragic dimension that's already somehow in the air. And it can't be in the air, and he already knows this actually, unless he has some kind of a premonition, a clairvoyance in the sense of Ruach HaKodesh, that ultimately, they're not destined to be together.
He could be thinking that he's 14, according to the Midrash, that he's in this yeshiva, Shem Ve'ever, for all these years. He could be crying because this is a family member and he's been away from home or family for that long. And I believe that there are some Mefarshim that say that.
There are.
So it wouldn't have to be so tragic.
There are. So that's the next thing I was going to say. The next thing I was going to say is the Radak actually views this whole segment without recourse to Eliphaz, to money being taken away, to anybody upset, to anything about the future. He removed the stone. And when he removed the stone, he did so with the three shepherds. And Vayigal to Evan doesn't mean he himself, but he together with the three shepherds, the four of them did it together. had he not been in the picture, the assumption seems to be Rachel would have to have been the fourth. So he did this for her. Or that he has some kind of, because of the bracha that he got, says the Radak, some kind of great strength that's so strong that he did it by himself. Vayigala to Evan means he did it totally by himself. And he showed superhuman strength. Also, it related to seeing Rachel, to great excitement, right? He's happy, whatever you want to say, right? We already find out Vayigas Yaakov Vayagel at Ha'evim al Pi Be'er, and he causes them to be given the water, right? So what is Vayishak? Once she, says the Radak, saw that he, Yaakov, had done such a chesed for her, and then he gave her a kiss, she accepted it. By the way, why is he crying? He's crying something called tears of joy. He's just very happy. That's what Rashi says. As a Radak, excuse me. Zui b'chir shel simcha. Ki bitchaber ha'achim merov simcha merov hamayat halev ishel achiv yivku. He's happy to see a family member. And fortuitous, which we wouldn't call fortuitous or serendipitous, we would say, oh, hashgacha, mina shamayim. Just like Eliezer had a tefillah that there should be a kind woman, and not only was it a kind woman who's giving the water to the camels, it's actually someone from the family that he is looking for in some way. What are the chances? So now, here comes Rachel, and she's a member of the family, and it all works out. And he's not crying because of Radak says the crying is the crying of simcha. And then Radak says when Lavan heard about it, right, and he came running, he wasn't checking him for money. He was genuinely giving him a hug and a kiss because they're family, and he brought him to the house. And you know what? Yaakov told the story. He said, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it had to elaborate the entire story. It says there was al eze davar nifrad mi beit aviv. He told him some, maybe the whole story, maybe part of the story. It's not clear from Radak, but he said that's why I'm here. In other words, he didn't. It's not about shiduchim and money. He's just explaining why he came, and he's happy because it's family. It's family, and Radak therefore has a different view. On your point about Rachel being a ro'ah, so the Ramban, points out that indeed there was no other ro'eh that Lavan had. He had to send his own daughter, right? So the point of ki ro'ahi is to tell you that the son of Lavan don't have another shepherd. It's her, and she's the one who goes out each day. And Leah, by the way, does not go outside, right? And just very interesting. She's more inward, and Leah. Rachel goes out, right? Or maybe, says the Ramban, it's an interesting thing to consider. Leah was older as a sister. Leah was ready to get married. Rachel was younger, so her father was worried about sending her outside because she needed to be paired up with someone. Rachel was younger. Today, we might have said, as they probably said him in Aram Naharaim, it certainly was the case, at least for this part of what we're up to in the Chumash. Leah was in the Parsha, and Rachel was not in the Parsha. That's from speak for someone who's trying to get married, or so I've learned over the last number of years. So that was a joke. That had nothing to do with actually what's going on here. But it could be that that's why she's outside. Rachel is a ketana. They're not worried about her getting married. Ramban says this, and that would also explain how it is, because everyone is tumbling. How is a man kissing a woman in the Torah and they're not even married? And the Torah is telling us they're kissing each other. But if she's really young, then he's kissing a girl. Saw a little girl, give her a kiss. So then you're going to tell me, oh, we're back to the same problem with Rivka. It might be 3 in the whole story. Yeah, I get it. But maybe she was young. Don't forget, he's not going to get married to her right away. It's going to take some time. Remember? It's going to take some time. And when you think of it that way, at least the way the Ramban has it, pasuk Yudal Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel has nothing to do with romance or love at first sight or attraction. It's just affection and seeing your cousin. And she's little. You gave her a kiss, and that's why she's there, because she's not really subject to getting married. 7 years later, the little girl became a woman. Something along those lines. Yeah, that's Ramban. So just for consideration, it's going to be a 7-year process, and that will also explain how it is that Rachel is, in Lavan's mind, certainly not getting married before her sister, who's much older than her and was already ready to get married when Yaakov arrived. So what's he going with the younger sister? He should be marrying the older sister, and of course, that's what Lavan's logic is. At the time of the wedding. Shelley, I feel like your hand is up, and you're going to raise your hand from 4 to 5 questions. I don't think I got to 4 yet.
What do the commentators say about that there's going to be the midrash about Leah's eyes being weak because
why don't we get there? It's a pasuk. We didn't get there. Can we wait?
Okay, but then
we're gonna stop. We're getting there. It's two or three more pasukim.
Okay, because then we have to deal with the fact that possibly there are shidduchim in place for Esav and Yaakov.
Why don't we get there? Why don't you let me get there? We're 2 pasukim away. Yeah. Let me get there. We'll get there. Right. Okay. I know you've already read ahead, and you know this, and I think a lot of people do also. Let's see it in a stepwise fashion. So we're up to the pasuk Yodal. V'yomer Lavan ach atzmi v'sari ata vayeshev imo chodesh yamim. You are my bone and my flesh. You're one of us. You're a relative, and therefore you can stay with us. So he lets him stay for 30 days. That's a lot of hospitality. It's only after 30 days, Vayomer Lavan li Yaakov, hachi achi ata v'avadatani chinam. Hagida li ma maskurtacha. Right? Now, if you want to take the lowest view of these words, he is essentially enslaving Yaakov. But I don't know that that's mashma, really, from the words themselves. A man who lives as a guest in someone else's house, who is able-bodied, after 30 days, can be fairly asked to clean the table. You're a ben bayit, so help take out the garbage. You know what I mean? He's in the house. It's 30 days already. Yeah. And of course, for Rashi, the ach atzmi uvesari ata means ach. The word ach is something along the lines of yet. And usually the word ach is something that delimits. So according to Rashi, following in the same line, even though you didn't bring me a red cent, and I really don't have to bring you into my house, and you didn't bring anything, which is rude and this and that, etc. But because we're related, I'll still take care of you for 30 days. And that's what he did, right? And don't worry, says Rashi, don't think that during those 30 days, Yaakov was sitting around, doing a crossword. He was taking care of the tzon. For sure, he was already taking care of the tzon for the 30 days from day one. But Lavan was telling him, even though you didn't bring anything, I'll still let you stay anyway. Like, look what a great Baal Chesed I am, even though you can't pay me. And by that rendering, Vayomer lo Lavan ach atzmi v'sari'ata is not sincere. It's more sort of righteous not indignation, but a self-righteous statement. Even though you didn't bring anything, I'll let you stay anyway for 30 days for free in my lodgings. Rashi says, and by the way, it's not Rashi, it's the Medrash, right? To paint Lavan as we do, and we'll ask ourselves, is that the pshat? Is Lavan actually doing all these things, or is it only in retrospect that we're trying to reconcile and understand how did this man become so manipulative, and how did things get so entangled? Oh, there were signs from the beginning. Oh, if we only had understood properly that even his hug and his kiss was already looking for how he could take something away from Yaakov. It'll help us understand Yaakov's reactions later on, when he'll finally explode at the end of this parsha after 20 plus years, about how he was cheated, from the first minute, etc. Not all the Mefarshim took that, though. Again, on the level of pshat, it could very well be you're a guest, you're here. I'm happy that you're here. He stayed for 30 days, and after 30 days, he said to him, since you're already here, and since I know, like the Sforno says, even though you are you're well able to get yourself together and get your own career going, and nonetheless, but you're related to us. So instead of finding lodging somewhere else, please stay in our home. It's very positive, right? You should stay over in my house, even though you could find your own lodgings to get your own job, and it would be fine. And therefore he stayed in the house. Why? He stayed in the house for the 30 days to work for him already. Vayomer lo Lavan ach atzmi uvsari ata, even though I know you could leave, but you should stay here. Vayeshem chodesh yamim. The Sforno says it's the same thing like Moshe Rabbeinu later on when he stays with Yitro. Vayoel Moshe lashevet et haish means he stayed with him. He wasn't twiddling his thumbs. He was working as a ro'eh, which explains why the next pasuk is Lavan saying, Hachi hachi ata bavaratani chinam. Why are you doing this just for free? You're just doing the work, and I'm giving you some food or something. Why don't you tell me, what you'd actually like to be paid? And that's where the piece comes up where Yaakov says that he wants to marry Rachel. But it's a different rendering, yeah. For Rashi, he said, well, I shouldn't really have to keep you here. We're kind of stuck, so I'll let you stay. But why should you work for me for free? Is like now I'm going to. I see that you've been working this time, but now I want to sort of cement it. And I want you to basically be my language, but somehow like almost enslaved to me. You're already doing it. Achi achi ata for Rashi is, on account of the fact that you're my brother, are you going to work for me for free? Like I know the bill's going to come due. So what is it? What do you want? What do you expect? And Lavan is here already arranging things so that he'll have his thumb over Yaakov Avinu. Yeah, to be able to in some way, I don't know what the word is, control him. I don't know what the language is, but it's something along those lines, as we know happened as we move through things. A question, comment, anyone?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Helen, please.
Doesn't the Gemara tell the guests don't stay too long?
Yeah. Yaakov didn't learn
you're
that
okay
Gemara.
Then I got to ask you a far-out question. Why do we say Shoshanas Yaakov in regard to Mordechai? What is the connection? Why do we see?
You're very early for next Purim.
I know, but I forgot to ask you that last week. What is the connection?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I have ideas, but you're gonna make it into a Purim shir. I can't do it. People already have Pesach on the brain.
Okay,
but I do want to propose something else though for your consideration. Nazli Shoshanat Yaakov and a Purim story, but maybe something for our consideration about where's the hint that Yaakov began working already for Lavan in the Pshat. The Ramban says it started already when he first met Rachel. He couldn't understand why is a girl coming out to be a ro'ah with all of these men. And so the Ramban says the first moment when he saw what was going on, he gave the water to the camels, to the sheep. And he basically told Rachel, that was what the kiss meant. I'm taking over. I have pity on you. You can't be out here doing this. I'll take over and I'll do your job. Ramban used the expression chamal aleha shlo tashuv lirot tzon od v'hayahu ro'eh otan be'avato ota. For the Ramban, unlike Radak, that it was just a fraternal cousin, kiss to a little girl. He already was attracted to her in some way. And the first thing that he did was he did chesed for her. And he decided, how could I possibly allow her, by the way, I don't know if it's romantic love, could be just his affection for her. My cousin is reduced to being a ro'ah. What kind of a father sent a girl to be the ro'at son? And the answer is, of course, the father who grew up in a house where he saw that his father sent his sister to go draw water from the well. He could make, now he misinterpret, he doesn't think it's just getting the water from the well, where many women were no doubt coming to get water from the well. He's making the daughter the shepherdess on her own. Yaakov comes and he says, I can't let that be. And to that rendering, it's not just that Yaakov, did a chesed for the ro'et son to open the stone that is covering the well, again, with them by himself. To me, it's mashma, it's by himself. Then he upbraids them and tells them, where's your work ethic? It's not time to go, to go home yet. Go back out and graze. So he's righting wrongs in a certain way, not say moral wrongs, but issues. He's trying to fix things. He's a fixer. Tell you, open that, give him the water. You should go back to work. A girl coming here, I'm gonna let her be the ro'at son, and she's my cousin. Taking over. I got to live here anyway. So he took over right there. Right. It's also possible that maybe Lavan was cheating him here. Could be. And again, Ramban admits that. Qua Rashi admits that possibility that Lavan really was manipulating a sense of chemla. Yaakov took over with chemla. Lachmol is a certain sense of compassion and pity for Rachel. I'll take over. I'll do your job because this is not right. And Efshar, when Ramban says Efshar Lomar, maybe this is also the case, and that is that when he uses the lashon yitachein or Efshar, it means he's being tentative. The Ramban himself, I should have said this earlier, methodological point, bulletin. Ramban is willing to play with ideas. He uses the language of possibility. He doesn't always say this is the correct interpretation. He's not as categorical as earlier and other commentators. He'll say sometimes it's possible. It's possible not. It's possible. So he writes, it's possible that from the moment that Yaakov gave the kiss to Rachel, he took over as the shepherd for her and out of love for her. Romantic love, filial love, whichever. Number two, it's also possible, he writes, V'efshar od lomar, that maybe Lavan was manipulating this to say, oh, I have compassion on you. You're my relative, and I'll take you in. And I know that you have your eye on Rachel, so let's formalize things so that I can hold you in. Yeah? I don't want you to work for free, right? Tell me what you want. Like, I want to know directly. And that's when Yaakov will say, I'll work for 7 years for Rachel, right? And min hastam, the work is already to be a shepherd. Yeah. That's what was necessary. They needed someone to be a shepherd. And that would connect why Yaakov says, I want to marry Rachel, because I'm doing Rachel's job. And that's my connection to Rachel. And it also explains why 7 years, based on, again, what Radak said, that maybe she's younger. She's not yet of age to get married. She doesn't have to be 3. She could be 10, 8. I don't know. Pick a number. Doesn't say. Then 7 years later, okay, now she's 18. Again, this is an antiquity. I'm not making a suggestion in a contemporary context, but just in the milieu that they're in. And that's where you have, now back to the Pshat, Pasuk Tedvav, Vayomer Lavan liYaakov, Hachi Hachi Ata, is that a question? Are you really my brother? Or is it really, behold, look at that, you are my brother. How could you be working for me for free? Seems like it's more the latter. Tell me what you want to get paid. I want the relationship to be transactional. So just tell me what I owe you. Like, what's the bill? There's going to be a bill. I know you're not doing this for free, because Lavan's thinking, I don't do anything for free. Everything for me is transactional. Again, as we'll see shortly, will come much more to the foreground. Tamar, I see your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Just a small point. Another reason Yaakov would have to work is because he cannot bring a dowry. He doesn't have a dowry.
He's earning it.
Yeah.
He's washing the dishes in advance to pay the bill for the meal. Okay, yeah, listen, okay, Beseder, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Okay, yeah. Yeah, יכול להיות, I mean, יכול להיות. Yeah. Yeah, good. One last thing before we pick up stakes and get to the Leah Rachel piece, and I see we only have a few minutes left. And that is another methodological piece from the Ibn Ezra. Dial back with me where it says, verse 11, Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel, Vayisai kolo vayevk. He gave her a kiss, and then he cried. And the next pasuk is, Vayaged Yaakov l'Rachel, Ki avi achi aviahu, v'chiven rivkahu, v'taretz v'teged lavia. The Ibn Ezra says that just from a methodological parshanut perspective, Vayaged Yaakov l'Rachel is me'uchar, v'ta'amo ukvar higid Yaakov l'Rachel, v'achar kach vayishak v'rabim kamohu. There's a lot like that. Let me explain. To the Ibn Ezra, he gave the water to the sheep. He met Rachel. He told Rachel what happened. After he told her what happened, namely that they're related, that he just gave the water, Vayash etzon Lavan imo, he explained to her why he did it. We're related, etc. Then he gave her a kiss. Then he cried. Then she ran to tell her father. There, Ibn Ezra uses this expression, me'uchar. It's later, meaning even though in the Torah, things are written black fire on white fire, A, B, C, D, E, sometimes B comes after A, but you should just be aware that really it's telling you why A happened. Why did he just give her the water, gave her a kiss, and then he cried? Those are all action items between Yaakov and Rachel. So those are grouped together. The next action sequence is, after this interaction, Rachel will go to tell her father. She'll run to tell her father. That's the end of verse 12. In between, the Torah tells us almost parenthetically, do you know why that just happened? Because Yaakov had already told Rachel that they were related. That's why he then closed telling her this by giving her a kiss. Then he cried, and then she ran off. So you'll ask, okay, then why didn't the Torah just go in order? Why is it going out of sequence, Ibn Ezra? And the answer is, very simply, for its own internal reasons. Like what? Just follow the flow. There's a lot of action that happens, and the force of what's transpiring is not interrupted by a discussion. Vayashket son Lavan achimo, vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel, vayisai kolo vayev. Then vayaged Yaakov l'Rachel, and then she went. In other words, there's a direct flow. He gave her the water, and he gave her a kiss, and then he cried. It creates a certain momentum. And then the Torah goes back and tells you why did that happen between action A and B and C. You have, he gave her the water, he kissed her, he cried, A, B, C. There's D. Let me explain to you that actually explains why this sequence happened, because he'd already told her this. By the by, and no doubt the Hasidic Shavort I probably saw or didn't see, I don't know. But if you look in the Sefer Torah, you'll notice there's of course no cantillation and there's no vowelization. You notice that the word vayashk, vav, yud, shin, kuf, which means vayashk is to give the water, and vayishak, to kiss, is exactly the same letters. It's the same word. They're pronounced differently. They sort of mean two different things, but vayashk is to give something, is to create a connection between one and the other, the pouring, and vayishak is the creating of a connection. And when you start to realize, and this may be way off the reservation for some of you, but what is a Rachel? A Rachel is a sheep. It's a lamb. Vayashket son Lavan achi imo. Vayashk Yaakov l'Rachel. Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel. And so there's a connection here with the tzon and the tzon, yeah? The Rechela, the Rachel. There's a connection over there. And now he cried. So there, Ibn Ezra wants you to know, there's a dialing back to tell you something in the Torah that will explain to you why those actions happened. And another example of this along these lines, also where the Torah in the middle of the story pauses to tell you something from the voice of the narration of the Torah, is again found in Pasuk Tet Zayin, verse 16. Ulavan shtei vanot, Shem Gdola Leah, v'Shem Ktana Rachel, ve'enei Leah rakot, v'Rachel hayta yifat tor v'yifat mar'eh. Then vayehav Yaakov et Rachel ve'omer el votcha sheva shanim v'Rachel bitcha ktana, which we'll come to next time because we're out of time for today. But you understand what's going on. After we find out that Yaakov said to Lavan, said to Yaakov, well, what do you want? What do I owe you? Yeah, leaning over the desk. What can I give you? Now the Torah tells us, by the way, he has two daughters. There's an older, there's a younger. We never heard of Leah before. Turns out there was an older sister. And here are their names. We knew the name Rachel. It said it already before. Why are you telling me her name again? Question. And then Rachel's eyes are soft. They're red. What does rakot even mean? Right? According to Reb Sadia Gaon, they look very beautiful. Naot adinot. They're beautiful. They're soft eyes. There's nothing wrong with her. Right? According to Rashi, now we're back to Midrashim. But before we get there, just on the level of Pshat, rakot just means she had nice eyes. Rashbam, nice eyes. That's all. That's what it means. There's nothing else going on. Yeah, Radak, Einei Leah rakot, Yifat Tor Haita. Okay, she was very beautiful, but her eyes were filled with tears. Her disposition was different, and therefore her beauty was not as visible, you could say, as a result of her mood. Oftentimes when we read rakot, it means one thing. She didn't look so good. She was always crying, because we went straight to Rashi, to the Midrashim that Rashi has about why it was that she was always upset, because of the symmetry between Esav, Yaakov, where of course back in Parsha Toldot, what did it say? Esav is the older and Yaakov is the younger, and it uses the word the Ben Hagadol and the Ben Hakatan. It uses exactly that language. So again, the parallel, Lavan has shtei banot, Shem Gdol Leah, Shem Ktana Rachel, just like Gadol goes with the Gadol, Gedolah, and the Katan goes to Ktana. Okay, perfect. And therefore, she's crying. Pasuk Yud Zayin explains Pasuk Tet Zayin. She's crying because she's worried she's supposed to get married to Esav. Oy, 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 oy. And I know he's so wicked, and I don't want that to happen. Yeah. ... ellipsis. Yeah. Closing comment. Jerry, you want to say something? I'm sorry. I think you had your hand up.
You covered it with the Vaishak had used the same word exactly with different vowels.
Yeah. It's not. I can't believe it's accidental.
But you added on to it that the meaning of Rachel is also parallel both places. Both of them. I think there's some real wordplay going on here.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. When the author is divine, I mean, there's a lot of layers going on in here. Yeah. So, and I was bringing, the reason I did this in the sequence I did it is to show you the Ibn Ezra wants us to realize when the Torah seems to interrupt itself in quotation marks, or to dial back to sometimes explain to you something you just read that was a piece of the puzzle that was left out in order because of some other consideration. I threw in Ibn Ezra didn't say Vayashk and Vayishak and the Tzor and the Rachel. That was Tzvi Engel speaking. Maybe à travers de mon chapeau, as they say in French, like beyond what I know. But there is something there about the action, then the speech, then the action continues again. And here we have again the sense of a start-stop. he comes there, he gives him a hug, gives him a kiss, they sit down, they talk, 30 days go by, and then he says, okay, so what do I owe you? Lavan leans over the table, twiddling the thumbs, what do I owe you? Let me mark it down. I owe you something for all this. You shouldn't keep working for me for free. What does that mean? What did he mean by it? Different mafarshim. Afshar, yitachen, yeah? And then comes the parenthetical remark before we find out, because we know that Yaakov is going to say, I'll work for you for 7 years in order to marry your daughter, your younger daughter, Rachel. He's very careful. The Rachel bitcha ktana. Why did he say that? Answer, because there's another sister. And there are 2 sisters, and Yaakov loves Rachel. Now, I thought, you know why he loves Rachel? Because she's more beautiful than Leah. But it's not clear that that's the case. It could be that it's related to the fact that Yaakov and Rachel have a connection from when they first met each other, not just who she was, but how they met, encountered each other, and what Yaakov was doing that perhaps was already endearing himself more and more to Rachel, and vice versa. Every day that he went to work was, I'm helping my beloved cousin Rachel, and so on and so forth. And so went the other way. He's doing chesed for me, et cetera, et cetera. And that was perhaps building more connection between them over time. And notice that Yaakov doesn't say, I'll marry her tomorrow. Give it 7 years. How come? How come? There's a reason. Okay. We'll have to come to, we already basically said it, but we'll come back to it next week. Helen, you had a closing comment, and then I got to let everyone go.
Yes. Okay, 2 things. The Shikah comes under question because of Esav and Yaakov and the neck. So the whole word in the Shikah.
That's going to be in Vayishlach.
Right. So that word has to be opened up in many different ways. And what bothers me, because my name is Leah, I don't like that snua part. And that bothers me, that word snua. It's my big problem in life.
We're not there yet, but we'll get there.
Okay.
We're not there yet. Okay. Well, we'll leave it there for now then. I wish everyone a great day, and I look forward Thursday, Haggadah Shir at this the 9:30 slot, in person and on Zoom for those who are unable to make it in person. And watch your email for later on today for the information about chametz, all the authorizations and all that, and other information. Have a great day.